Welcome to another edition of the Red Zone podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Point du Jour, and today, on a Friday, we are back with CFL tiers. Waited a bit longer this week because the Labor Day games aren't until Sunday/Monday, so that's why we waited. But let's get right into it and see where every team ranked right before the biggest games of the year. Starting at the bottom, we have the Montreal Alouettes, and they have a decision to make at the quarterback position. James Morgan hasn't been playing that badly, but it's just they cannot stay on the field. They're dealing with their fair share of injuries. Tyson Philpott is not in the lineup right now. He could be coming back, anytime here. But their defense is on the field way too much, and they need to find a way to stay in that second spot in the East Division and not fall into that crossover spot because that's a tricky game to play. You might as well stay there in the second spot in the East, and finding the right quarterback to do so, easier said than done. They brought in Shea Patterson, they brought in Cameron Dukes. So it's going to be interesting what they do after the bye week and who they choose to keep them afloat and, contend with obviously the Hamilton Tiger Cats at the top of that division. In the next tier, we have the Toronto Argonauts and the Ottawa Red Blacks, and I put now or never. Look, it's Labor Day, and the Argos come off a very big win against the BC Lions, arguably to keep their season alive. They scored 52 points in the process. Nick Arbuckle was great, and he's been great for the last, 3, 4, 5 weeks. There's even been MOP conversation, MOP talks. I wouldn't go that far, but he has been playing at that level with over 430 yards in this game, including 3 touchdowns. I don't know about the MOP conversation stuff. I mean, they're still trying to fight for a playoff spot, and they need to start getting wins. A win against Hamilton would be great for them. They just can't be inconsistent anymore. You have to make a push for a playoff spot, and that's the same thing with the Ottawa Red Blacks, who lost this past weekend to the Edmonton Elks 30-20. Dustin Crum wasn't that bad, but I mean, you still lost. You have to get wins. If Drew Brown is out for an extended period of time, you have to kind of ask the question, is this it? Is this it for the Red Blacks? We'll have to wait and see. But right now, it's crunch time, and they both need to make a push here. The next tier, we have the Edmonton Elks and the BC Lions, and I left the door open for very different reasons. For the Edmonton Elks, they keep on winning. 3 wins in a row against the East Division. This is going to be their test on Labor Day Monday against the Calgary Stampeders, and to prove that, they can beat one of these top teams. If they can, hey, we could be discussing the Elks as a possible playoff team. If they can't, it depends on how they would lose. But if they lose in a blowout, I mean, obviously they're not there yet. It's going to be a big game for Edmonton. And with 3 wins in a row, Fajardo has been doing a very, very good job being efficient, not turning the ball over, and helping this Elks team, get going on offense. The defense is still struggling, but they allow themselves a chance with wins, the last 3 weeks. And then for the Lions, they left the door open. They could have taken a huge lead when it comes to the crossover positioning and be ahead of the game by a couple games. But with this loss, it just made things a bit tighter, and now it feels like everyone is in it for the crossover spot. They're sitting at 5-6 right now. Also are the Alouettes, but the Alouettes are in second place in the East Division, so they're kind of safe and out of this crossover spot. But man, oh man, if you got that win, you could have put yourself in a good spot in this crossover place. But instead, you lose and you just make everything a bit tighter. So we'll see what the BC Lions can do. They have a big back-to-back against the Ottawa Red Blacks. That could just determine if Ottawa is going to still be in it or if they're going to be out. So we'll see what they can do there. Next, we have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And I put create some breathing room. Both of these teams have the ability to do so on this Labor Day weekend. For Winnipeg, with that BC loss and with a win against Saskatchewan, won't be easy, especially in Saskatchewan. But over the last few years, Winnipeg has, taken that matchup. They could give themselves a 2-game cushion over the BC Lions, and that obviously Winnipeg does have that season series. And then for Hamilton, they could do exactly the same with a win against the Argos, separate themselves from the second place team in the Montreal Alouettes. And if you can get yourself, 2, maybe a 3-game lead before Davis Alexander gets back, hey, you could possibly be looking at an East Division bye come playoff time. I know it's far, it's kind of ways away, but you never know. They just need to keep on winning to do so to give themselves a nice cushion. Next up, we have the Saskatchewan Roughriders moving down in the tiers. And I said 1-1 with kind of a serious face here because things get serious now. I mean, you have a back-to-back with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You lost the season series to the Calgary Stampeders, and that just made, the top of the West really interesting. And you just can't lose both of these games to Winnipeg. I said that 4-game stretch, you got 2 games left. And if you can win both of these, I think you still have a great chance to win the West Division. If you lose both of these, though, everything, and I mean everything, is up for grabs at that point. I mean, Winnipeg, they could possibly, get first in the West Division. It's going to be tough, though, because Calgary does have that season series as well. So Calgary, I would think they may be the favorite to win the West right now. But hey, we'll see what Saskatchewan could do in this back-to-back against Winnipeg. And Saskatchewan has also signed a Joe back to the roster. So that gives more depth in that receiving core. As we get to the top of the tiers, we have, yet again, the Calgary Stampeders reclaiming their throne at the top. And I said a sweep doesn't lie. They swept the Rough Riders. They swept the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And I think that's good enough to get you first in the tiers, at least for now. We'll see what happens on Labor Day and the Labor Day rematch. But this is a nice little stretch for the Stamps. And then after Labor Day, after the bye week, they have the BC Lions. And you know who wants to get revenge on the Lions. We'll see how these next few weeks go for the Calgary Stampeders, who really dominated the Riders in both games this year. Physically dominated. So can they keep those winning ways going against the Elks? Only time will tell. But that will do it for this edition of CFL Tiers. As always, let's get into my Week 13 picks for the Labor Day weekend. And it starts on Sunday between Winnipeg and Saskatchewan in Saskatchewan. Give me Winnipeg. Until Saskatchewan can prove they can beat the Bombers on Labor Day, I'm going to pick the Bombers. I just want to see how Saskatchewan responds after a very tough loss to Calgary. On Monday, we have the 2 Monday games, starting with Toronto and Hamilton in Hamilton. Give me the Tiger Cats to win that one at home. I think they'll bounce back after, that loss to Saskatchewan, and after the bye, I think they bounce back against Toronto. And then we finish it out with the Elks and the Stampeders, and I'm going to be picking the Stampeders to get the victory there. So those are my predictions for Week 13. My record going into week 13 is 33-14 in these predictions. So not too bad, not too shabby. We'll see if I can continue the winning ways here in predictions. But again, that will do it. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you on the next episode of the Red Zone podcast. Peace.